People always tell you never to use an Ouija board alone, but there I was, determined to see if anything would truly happen without the influence of others. Instead of a proper board and planchette, I improvised with a piece of paper and a coin. The night was quiet, the kind of silence that hangs heavy and makes you hyper-aware of every little sound. I sat alone in my dimly lit room, with only the soft hum of the fan to keep me company. The air was thick with anticipation and a touch of fear. The conversation began simply enough. I connected with a spirit who identified himself as John, a man who had passed away. His presence felt faint but persistent. Out of curiosity, I asked why he was still around. The coin spelled out CAR. Intrigued, I pushed for more information. He provided a license plate number, the name of his wife, Emily, and a local phone number. Each detail felt strangely mundane, almost too real for a ghostly encounter. As mundane as it seemed, the details were compelling. My skepticism waned as the intensity of the experience grew. The coin started to pull slightly and became warm to the touch, something I hadn't expected. Until that moment, I believed I might have been moving it unconsciously. A chill ran down my spine, making me hyper-aware of every creak and whisper in the room. The coin's warmth was unsettling, almost as if the spirit's energy was being transferred through it. I asked where he was, and the coin spelled out INFIR- before moving to the no answer. Knowing that infierno means hell in Spanish, it seemed like John was trying to abbreviate the word. This detail, using no to avoid spelling out the full word, was chilling and fascinating. It was as if the spirit was impatient or frustrated, eager to convey his message, but hindered by the limitations of our communication. Feeling uneasy, I began to say goodbye, but the coin stopped moving altogether. No further responses came, leaving me in a state of uncertainty. I tucked the paper and coin away in a random book, unsure if burning or discarding them would be wise. The experience lingered in my mind, casting a shadow of doubt and fear. The feeling of unfinished business haunted me, and I couldn't shake the sense that something was left unresolved. My curiosity got the better of me, so I called the number John provided. My heart raced as I dialed, unsure of what to expect. A woman answered, and I asked for Emily. She wasn't there, and when I inquired if she lived there, the woman grew defensive. Our country is notoriously cautious about sharing information over the phone, so I received the typical line of questioning. Who is this? Why are you calling? Embarrassed, I hung up, never confirming if the details were accurate. Life moved on, but the memory of that night stayed with me. Every now and then, I'd pull out the book with the paper and coin, pondering what had happened and if the spirit had truly moved on. Each time, I felt a mixture of fear and curiosity, wondering if I should try to communicate again or if I should let the past remain untouched. Years later, I moved to a new home. While unpacking, I found the book again. Memories flooded back, bringing with them an unsettling chill. This time, I decided to get rid of it. I didn't want any remnants of that night haunting my new space. The new house felt like a fresh start, and I didn't want the old energy to follow me. I carefully burned the paper and coin, watching the flames consume them. The fire danced and flickered, casting eerie shadows that seemed to bid farewell to the past. Despite never attempting such a thing again, the experience left me with more questions than answers, a haunting reminder of the unknown and the thin veil between the living and the dead. One night, years after burning the items, I received a call from an unknown number. Hesitant, I answered. A distant, echoing voice asked for Emily. My heart skipped a beat. Could it be a coincidence, or was the spirit still trying to reach out? I didn't respond, and the line went dead. That call left me with renewed unease, as if the mystery of that night was far from over. As time passed, I couldn't help but revisit the events in my mind. I even considered looking up the license plate number to see if there was any record of an accident. However, each time I thought about diving deeper, something held me back. The fear of what I might uncover kept me from taking that final step. Occasionally, I dream about that night. In my dreams, the coin moved on its own, spelling out warnings and cryptic messages. I would wake up in a cold sweat, the feeling of the coin's warmth lingering on my fingers. These dreams only added to the mystery, making me question whether the spirit was truly at rest. Years went by, and I eventually shared the story with a close friend. They suggested performing a cleansing ritual to ensure that any lingering spirits were truly gone. While skeptical, I decided it was worth a try. We performed the ritual together, burning sage and reciting prayers of protection. The process was cathartic, giving me a sense of closure that I hadn't felt before. Even though I never experienced anything supernatural again, the story remained a significant part of my life. It was a reminder of the mysteries that exist just beyond our understanding. Whether the events of that night were real or a product of my imagination, they left an indelible mark on me. In the end, the experience taught me to respect the unknown and to approach it with caution. The memory of that night serves as a reminder of the thin line between curiosity and fear, and the importance of listening to the warnings that come with it. My mom, Sarah, and her 3 friends, Lisa, Emily, and Rachel, decided to play with an Ouija board one evening. They gathered in Sarah's dimly lit living room, the air thick with anticipation and a hint of fear. As they placed their fingers on the planchette, it began to move, spelling out a chilling message. "Fertil no more." They didn't think much of it at the time, brushing it off as a random phrase. Over the next month, a series of tragic events unfolded. Lisa's brother, Mark, overdosed on drugs, leaving the family devastated. Emily's father, Robert, passed away suddenly from a heart attack, shocking everyone who knew him. Then, Sarah and Rachel were involved in a horrific car accident. They were driving home from a late-night movie when their car was struck by a speeding vehicle. The driver, their close friend, Michael, did not survive the crash. Sarah and Rachel were left with severe injuries, and Sarah still bears the scars on her hand to this day. After the accident, Sarah began experiencing intense night terrors. She would wake up screaming, haunted by visions of a dark, evil figure lurking in the shadows. Desperate for relief, Sarah's great-grandmother, a woman well-versed in spiritual practices, performed a cleansing ritual to help banish the malevolent presence. The night terrors subsided, but they never truly disappeared. Sarah still has nightmares occasionally, a lingering reminder of that fateful night. It took years for Sarah to finally share the story with my sister and me. She had always warned us never to play with Ouija boards, but it wasn't until we were older that we understood why. The chilling message, the tragic events, and the lingering fear left an indelible mark on her life. We vowed never to touch an Ouija board, heeding her warning and the lessons learned from her harrowing experience. Years later, I found myself drawn to the stories of my mom's past. I remember asking her to recount those events again, hoping to understand the depth of her fear and the significance of the experiences. Each time she told the story, the details became more vivid, painting a picture of the terror and helplessness she felt. She described the night terrors in greater detail, the sense of dread that would wash over her as she drifted off to sleep, the dark figure that seemed to lurk just beyond the edges of her vision, and the way she would wake up drenched in sweat, her heart pounding in her chest. The cleansing ritual performed by her great-grandmother was an intense and emotional experience. They used sage, holy water, and protective charms to ward off the evil spirit. The process was long and exhausting, but it brought Sarah some much-needed relief. Despite the cleansing, Sarah's night terrors never completely vanished. Every once in a while, she would wake up in the middle of the night, her screams echoing through the house. My sister and I would rush to her side, trying to comfort her as she trembled in fear. We couldn't see the dark figure that haunted her dreams, but we could feel its presence in the air, a lingering reminder of the malevolent force that had touched our lives. As we grew older, we became more curious about the supernatural. We researched Ouija boards and other methods of communicating with spirits, trying to understand the mechanics of these tools and the potential dangers they posed. Our mom's warnings echoed in our minds, reinforcing our resolve to never dabble in such practices. One day, my sister stumbled upon an old photo album in our attic. It was filled with pictures of our mom and her friends from their younger days. We found a photo of the four of them together, smiling and carefree, taken just a few weeks before the tragic events began. It was a stark reminder of how quickly life can change and how fragile our existence truly is. We showed the photo to our mom, and she smiled wistfully, recounting happier memories of her time with Lisa, Emily, and Rachel. Despite the pain and loss they had endured, their bond remained strong. They supported each other through the darkest times, finding solace in their shared experiences and the strength of their friendship. Years passed, and my sister and I started families of our own. We continued to share our mom's story with our children, passing down the lessons we had learned. We emphasized the importance of respecting the unknown and the potential consequences of dabbling in the supernatural. Our mom's experiences served as a powerful reminder of the thin veil between our world and the next, and the importance of heeding the warnings we receive. Even now, as I sit and write this story, I can feel the weight of those experiences. The scars on my mom's hand are a visible reminder of the pain and fear she endured. Her occasional night terrors still send shivers down my spine, a testament to the lingering impact of that fateful night. But despite everything, our family remains strong, united by the lessons we have learned and the love we share. When I was around 14 years old, my friends and I decided to try out an Ouija board one evening. We gathered in my friend Alex's dimly lit basement, the air thick with anticipation and a hint of fear. The atmosphere was tense, and the only light came from a single flickering candle on the table. We set up the Ouija board in the center, and with our fingers lightly touching the planchette, we began our session. None of us were taking the experience very seriously. We laughed and made jokes, not really believing that anything would happen. Out of ignorance and the pure gall of a 14-year-old, I sarcastically uttered, "All right, if this thing is so real, tell me what's going to happen to me later this evening." To our surprise, the planchette began to move on its own, spelling out a concise and chilling message. "Hit by blue van." A shiver ran down my spine as I read the words. Unnerved, I called bullshit and brushed it off as a coincidence. The board went quiet again, and we decided to wrap up the session and say goodbye. By this time, it was nearing 9:30 p.m., so I let my friends know I had to get home before my dad got angry. I began the 4-block walk back to my house, cutting through a large park with a clear view of the adjacent road. The night was quiet, and the air was cool. As I walked, I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling the Ouija board's message had left me with. The park was empty, and I felt a strange sense of isolation as I made my way through it. As I approached the street to cross over to a back lane that led straight home, I noticed that there was no traffic in sight. It was eerily quiet, and the only sound was the rustling of leaves in the gentle breeze. I stepped off the curb to cross the street, and suddenly, out of nowhere, a blue van appeared. The van seemed to materialize out of thin air, and before I could react, it struck me. I wasn't run over, but the van gave me a hard nudge that sent me sprawling to the ground, my hip throbbing in pain. The impact was sudden and jarring, and I lay there in shock as the van sped off without stopping. The driver didn't even slow down to check if I was okay. They just drove away, leaving me alone and injured on the street. I struggled to my feet, my hip aching with every step, and limped the rest of the way home. My mind was racing with what had just happened. The prediction from the Ouija board had come true, and it was one of the weirdest and most unsettling experiences of my life. As I walked through the door, my dad immediately noticed my disheveled appearance and asked what had happened. I told him about the van, but I left out the part about the Ouija board. I knew he wouldn't believe me. Over the next few days, the pain in my hip gradually subsided, but the memory of that night stayed with me. The eerie accuracy of the Ouija board's prediction and the sudden appearance of the blue van haunted my thoughts. I never touched an Ouija board again after that night, and I became wary of anything related to the supernatural. As the years went by, I shared the story with friends and family, always with a mix of disbelief and caution. Some believed me, while others were skeptical. But for me, the experience was all too real. The blue van and the Ouija board's chilling message were etched into my memory, a testament to the strange and inexplicable events that can occur in our lives. Despite the fear and uncertainty, my curiosity about the supernatural only grew. I spent hours researching Ouija boards, spirits, and other methods of communication with the unknown. I read books, watched documentaries, and even attended lectures on the subject. I learned about the history of Ouija boards and the various theories behind how they work. Some believed they were a tool for communicating with spirits, while others thought they were simply a product of the subconscious mind. One summer, I attended a paranormal investigation workshop led by a renowned expert in the field. The workshop took place in a historic mansion rumored to be haunted. We explored the mansion late at night, using various tools and techniques to try to communicate with any spirits that might be present. While I didn't experience anything as dramatic as my encounter with the blue van, I did have a few eerie moments that left me questioning the boundaries between our world and the next. As I grew older, I also became more interested in the psychological aspects of the supernatural. I studied the effects of fear and suggestion on the human mind and how our perceptions can be influenced by our beliefs and experiences. I learned that our minds are capable of incredible things, and sometimes the line between reality and imagination can blur in ways we don't fully understand. Throughout my journey, I always kept a healthy dose of skepticism and respect for the unknown. I never forgot the lesson I learned that night with the Ouija board and the blue van. It served as a powerful reminder of the thin veil between our world and the next, and the importance of approaching the supernatural with caution and respect. Even now, as I sit and write this story, I can feel the weight of that experience. The memory of the blue van and the chilling message from the Ouija board are etched in my mind, a testament to the strange and inexplicable events that can occur in our lives. Despite the fear and uncertainty, I remain fascinated by the mysteries of the supernatural, always with a healthy dose of caution and respect.